5 conspiracy theories that came true. What if I told you that the CIA spent $240,000 to buy the world's entire supply of LSD and then dosed random Americans without their knowledge? That your government watched 399 men die slow, agonizing deaths from syphilis for 4 decades, when the cure existed? These aren't theories anymore. For decades, they were dismissed as paranoid fantasies, crazy talk, the ramblings of people wearing tinfoil hats. But then, documents leaked, whistleblowers came forward, and the unthinkable became undeniable. Today, we're diving into 5 conspiracy theories that turned out to be horrifyingly real, backed by declassified documents, court testimonies, and confessions from the very people who carried out these operations. I'm Daily Junkie, and this is where curiosity meets the truth. Let's start with something that affected millions and killed even more. The tobacco conspiracy. Picture this: December 15th, 1953. The Plaza Hotel, New York City. The heads of America's biggest tobacco companies gather for an emergency meeting. They've just received devastating news. Their own scientists have confirmed that cigarettes cause cancer, not might cause, not could potentially cause. Cigarettes cause cancer. So what did they do? Did they warn the public? Did they add warning labels? No. They hired Hill and Knowlton, one of America's top PR firms, and launched one of the most sophisticated cover-ups in corporate history. On January 4th, 1954, they published the frank statement to cigarette smokers in 448 newspapers across America. It looked like a public health announcement. It was actually a lie designed by PR professionals. The ad claimed, quote, "There is no conclusive scientific proof of a link between smoking and cancer." That was a lie. They already had the proof. Their own researchers had confirmed it months earlier. But here's where it gets truly evil. They created the Tobacco Industry Research Committee. Sounds legitimate, right? It wasn't. Internal documents later revealed it was nothing more than a PR shield. A 1969 memo from Brown and Williamson, a British-American tobacco subsidiary, laid out their strategy in plain English. And I quote, "Doubt is our product, since it is the best means of competing with the body of fact that exists in the mind of the general public." Let that sink in. Their strategy wasn't to prove cigarettes were safe. It was to create enough doubt that people would keep smoking while scientists argued. And it worked. For decades, they paid scientists to produce fake research. They funded medical journals. They even had doctors appear in ads recommending specific cigarette brands. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, their own scientists were documenting the horror. A 1961 confidential report to Liggett and Myers stated, and I'm reading directly from the document, biologically active materials present in cigarette tobacco are A. Cancer-causing, B. Cancer-promoting, and C. Poisonous. In 1963, an executive from Brown and Williamson wrote in an internal memo, "Nicotine is addictive. We are, then, in the business of selling nicotine, an addictive drug." They knew it all, and they lied for 50 years. In 1962, the Royal College of Physicians confirmed smoking causes lung cancer. In 1964, the U.S. Surgeon General published the same conclusion. Philip Morris's response: "We don't accept the idea that there are harmful agents in tobacco." The cover-up finally cracked in 1994, when a box of confidential documents from Brown and Williamson was delivered to the University of California, San Francisco. Over 30 million pages of internal documents were eventually made public through lawsuits. In 1998, the Master Settlement Agreement forced tobacco companies to pay $206 billion. In 2006, a federal judge ruled they had violated RICO laws, the same laws used to prosecute organized crime. The final death toll: over 100 million people killed by cigarettes in the 20th century. All while executives sat in boardrooms, looked at the data, and decided profit over people. The conspiracy theory was true. They knew. They lied. And millions died. Number 4 takes us into the darkest chapter of American law enforcement, a secret war waged against its own citizens. August 28, 1956. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover authorizes a new program. Its code name, COINTELPRO, Counterintelligence Program. The official goal: to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize groups the FBI deemed subversive. But here's what that really meant. If you were a civil rights activist, an anti-war protester, a feminist, or basically anyone the FBI didn't like, you were a target, and they used every dirty trick in the book. Between 1956 and 1971, COINTELPRO conducted over 2,000 documented operations. Let me repeat that. Over 2,000 covert operations against American citizens. The Black Panther Party alone was targeted in 233 of 295 documented actions against black nationalist groups. Why? Because J. Edgar Hoover called them the greatest threat to the internal security of the country. But COINTELPRO didn't just watch these groups. They actively destroyed them. They sent anonymous letters to break up marriages. They planted fake evidence. They infiltrated organizations with agents who incited violence. They even assassinated leaders. Conservative estimates put 28 Black Panther members killed and 750 imprisoned as a direct result of COINTELPRO operations. But the most disturbing example, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The FBI didn't just surveil King. They tried to destroy him psychologically. In November 1964, the FBI sent Dr. King an anonymous package. Inside was a tape recording of him in what they claimed was a compromising situation, and a letter. This letter, which we now have, suggested that King had 34 days to kill himself before the FBI exposed him. Let me read you the actual closing line. "There is only one way out for you. The FBI tried to blackmail America's most celebrated civil rights leader into suicide. That's not surveillance. That's assassination by psychological warfare. For years, anyone who suggested the government was targeting activists was called paranoid, a conspiracy theorist, delusional. Then, on March 8, 1971, everything changed. A group calling themselves the Citizens Commission to Investigate the FBI broke into an FBI field office in Media, Pennsylvania. They stole over 1,000 classified documents and sent them to newspapers. The documents proved everything. COINTELPRO was real. The operations were real. The FBI had been waging psychological warfare against American citizens for 15 years. Senator Frank Church launched an official investigation in 1975. His committee's final report didn't mince words. I'll quote it directly. The FBI conducted a sophisticated vigilante operation aimed squarely at preventing the exercise of First Amendment rights of speech and association. COINTELPRO officially ended in 1971 after the break-in. But was it really the end? In 2017, a leaked FBI report revealed a new designation: Black Identity Extremists. Sound familiar? The conspiracy theory was true. Your government was targeting, infiltrating, and destroying the lives of American citizens who dared to demand their rights. If you think the last one was dark, number 3 will shake you to your core. Macon County, Alabama. 1932. The U.S. Public Health Service approaches 600 African American men with an offer they can't refuse. Free medical care, free hot meals, free burial insurance. All they had to do was participate in a study about bad blood. Sounds generous, right? It wasn't. It was one of the most unethical medical experiments in American history. Here's the truth they weren't told. 399 of these men had syphilis, and the doctors had no intention of curing them. The official name of the study says it all: untreated syphilis in the Negro male. They weren't studying how to cure the disease. They were studying what happens when you deliberately let it kill someone. The men were told they were being treated for bad blood, a local term for various ailments. But they weren't being treated. They were being watched, documented, observed as the disease slowly destroyed their bodies. Initial treatments included arsenic, bismuth, and mercury, all toxic and ineffective. But when those treatments were deemed too expensive, they stopped even that. The study was supposed to last 6 to 9 months. It lasted 40 years. Here's where it gets truly monstrous. In 1947, penicillin became widely available. It was a miracle drug. It could cure syphilis completely. The participants could have been saved. But the Public Health Service made a choice. They decided to continue the experiment. They deliberately withheld treatment from these men for 25 more years. They even convinced local doctors not to treat the participants. When World War II broke out and some men were called to serve, the PHS successfully prevented them from receiving the mandatory syphilis treatment required by the military. In 1969, a Public Health Service investigator named Peter Buxton raised concerns about the study's ethics. His supervisors told him to keep quiet. When he persisted, they formed a committee to review the study. The committee's decision? Continue the study. Their reasoning: the study had already gone on for so long, they might as well see it through to the end. The end meaning until all the men died and could be autopsied. Finally, in 1972, Buxton leaked the story to the press. The public outcry was immediate and deafening. By the time the study ended in November 1972, the damage was catastrophic. 28 men died directly from syphilis. 100 died from complications. 40 wives were infected. 19 children born with congenital syphilis. In 1973, a class action lawsuit was filed. The government settled out of court for $10 million. That's about $175,000 per victim's family. The cost of 40 years of torture and death. In 1974, Congress passed the National Research Act, requiring institutional review boards for all human experiments. Finally, some protection, 25 years too late. It took until 1997, 25 years after the study ended, for a U.S. president to formally apologize. Bill Clinton stood in the White House and said, "The United States government did something that was wrong, deeply, profoundly, morally wrong. It was an outrage to our commitment to integrity and equality for all our citizens." The conspiracy theory was that the government conducted deadly experiments on Black Americans. The reality? It was worse than anyone imagined. 40 years of deliberate torture, disguised as medicine. We're now entering the realm of what sounds like pure science fiction. Mind control, human experimentation, CIA black sites. But I promise you, this happened. April 13, 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles approves a new program. Its code name, MKUltra. The goal? To develop techniques for mind control and interrogation, to create, in their own words, human robots that could be programmed to carry out missions and then forget everything. The methods? LSD, electroshock therapy, sensory deprivation, hypnosis, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, and torture. Lots of torture. Between 1953 and 1973, MKUltra conducted experiments at over 80 institutions, 44 universities, 12 hospitals, 15 research foundations, multiple prisons, over 150 separate experiments. More than 1,000 American soldiers were involuntarily dosed with LSD. Hundreds of civilians had no idea they were being experimented on. The mastermind behind it all, a chemist named Sidney Gottlieb, and his obsession was LSD. In the early 1950s, Gottlieb arranged for the CIA to spend $240,000, that's $2.7 million in today's money, to purchase the world's entire supply of LSD. He then distributed it to hospitals, prisons, and universities through fake front organizations, asking them to conduct experiments. Most researchers had no idea they were working for the CIA. One CIA program, Operation Midnight Climax, stands out for sheer audacity. The CIA set up safe houses in San Francisco and New York. They hired prostitutes to lure unsuspecting men back to these apartments. Once there, the men were secretly dosed with LSD, while CIA agents watched from behind two-way mirrors, drinking martinis and taking notes. One agent, George White, wrote to Gottlieb in 1971, "It was fun, fun, fun." Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, cheat, steal, deceive, rape, and pillage with the sanction and blessing of the All-Highest? But not everyone found it fun. Meet Frank Olson. Olson was an Army biochemist who worked on MK-Ultra projects. On November 19, 1953, at a CIA retreat, his colleagues secretly spiked his drink with LSD. They wanted to see what would happen. What happened was Frank Olson started having a mental breakdown. He became paranoid, confused, terrified. 9 days later, on November 28, 1953, Frank Olson fell from the 10th floor of the Statler Hotel in New York City. The official story? Suicide. But his family never believed it. In 1994, they had his body exhumed. The forensic evidence suggested Olson was struck on the head before going out the window. Murder, not suicide. Then there's the story of patients who had no choice. One mental patient in Kentucky was given LSD for 174 consecutive days, over 150 days of continuous hallucinations. Famous gangster James Whitey Bulger volunteered for what he thought was a schizophrenia study while in prison. He was dosed with LSD for 15 months. He later said, 8 convicts in a panic and paranoid state. Total loss of appetite. Hallucinating. Hours of paranoia and feeling violent. We experienced horrible periods of living nightmares and even blood coming out of the walls. Guys turning to skeletons in front of me. I felt like I was going insane. And here's the kicker. Some of the experiments worked. Ken Casey, who wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He got his first LSD through an MK-Ultra experiment. Robert Hunter, lyricist for the Grateful Dead. MK-Ultra. Allen Ginsberg. MK-Ultra. The CIA accidentally sparked the psychedelic revolution of the 1960s while trying to create mind-controlled assassins. For years, this was dismissed as conspiracy theory, science fiction. Then, in 1973, as Watergate was unraveling, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered the destruction of all MK-Ultra records. But he missed some. In 1975, the Church Committee investigation uncovered 20,000 documents that had survived. The testimony was explosive. Congressional hearings revealed that the CIA had dosed thousands of Americans without their knowledge, that they'd tortured mental patients, that they'd tried to develop a truth serum and methods to erase memory. In 1977, Senator Ted Kennedy held additional hearings. Sidney Gottlieb was called to testify. He admitted to everything but claimed he couldn't remember most details. His defense? It was the Cold War. Everyone was afraid of the Soviets. The conspiracy theory was true. The CIA spent millions of dollars and ruined countless lives trying to create mind-controlled humans. And when they were caught, they just destroyed the evidence. And finally, number 1. The conspiracy theory that brought down a president and changed American politics forever. June 17, 1972. 2:30 a.m. Watergate office complex, Washington, D.C. A security guard named Frank Wills notices tape covering the locks on several doors. He calls the police. They arrive to find 5 men inside the Democratic National Committee headquarters, wearing suits and surgical gloves, carrying cameras and electronic surveillance equipment. The burglars? James McCord, security coordinator for the committee to re-elect the president. 4 others with ties to the CIA and anti-Castro operations in Cuba. At first, it seemed like a simple burglary. President Nixon's press secretary called it a third-rate burglary attempt. Nixon himself won re-election in November 1972 by a landslide, but 2 journalists at the Washington Post, Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, didn't buy it. With help from an anonymous source they called Deep Throat, later revealed to be FBI Deputy Director Mark Felt, they started digging. What they found was explosive. On August 1st, they reported that a $25,000 check meant for Nixon's campaign had ended up in one of the burglars' bank accounts. The money trail led straight to the White House. In February 1973, the Senate established the Watergate Committee. On July 13, 1973, came the bombshell that changed everything. Alexander Butterfield, a former White House aide, revealed under oath that Nixon had installed a voice-activated taping system in the Oval Office. Every conversation since February 1971 had been recorded. The Senate and the special prosecutor immediately demanded the tapes. Nixon refused, claiming executive privilege. The battle went all the way to the Supreme Court. On July 24, 1974, in a unanimous 8-0 decision, the Supreme Court ordered Nixon to turn over the tapes. On August 5th, Nixon released them. And there it was, the smoking gun. A conversation from June 23, 1972, just 6 days after the break-in. Nixon is heard ordering his chief of staff, H.R. Haldeman, to have the CIA tell the FBI to stop investigating. Direct evidence of obstruction of justice. The tape also revealed something interesting. When first told about the break-in, Nixon asked Haldeman, who was the asshole that did that? Suggesting he didn't order the break-in itself, but he absolutely ordered the cover-up. Even Nixon's most loyal supporters in Congress abandoned him. On August 7th, Republican Senator Barry Goldwater, House Leader John Rhodes, and Senate Leader Hugh Scott visited the White House. They told Nixon he would be impeached by the House and convicted by the Senate. Nixon had no choice. On August 8, 1974, Richard Nixon became the first and only U.S. president to resign. In total, 48 people were convicted of crimes related to Watergate. Attorney General John Mitchell, 19 months in prison. White House Chief of Staff H.R. Haldeman, 19 months. Top domestic advisor John Ehrlichman, 18 months. Mastermind G. Gordon Liddy, 4.5 years. Nixon himself was pardoned by Gerald Ford just a month later. He never admitted criminal wrongdoing, though he acknowledged poor judgment. The conspiracy theory? That the President of the United States was a criminal who ordered illegal surveillance and covered it up. The reality? That's exactly what happened. The evidence was on tape, in his own words. And here's the crazy part. One of the tapes had an 18.5-minute gap. A conversation from June 20th, 1972, 3 days after the break-in, was mysteriously erased. Nixon's secretary claimed she accidentally erased 5 minutes while answering the phone. The other 13.5 minutes, still unexplained. We'll never know what was said in those missing minutes. Watergate taught America that no one is above the law. Not even the president. The conspiracy theorists who said the president was covering up crimes, they were absolutely right. So there you have it, 5 conspiracy theories that weren't theories at all. They were reality, hidden in plain sight, covered up by those in power, proven true by leaked documents, whistleblowers, and relentless investigators who refused to stop asking questions. Tobacco companies knew cigarettes killed but lied for profit. The FBI waged war on civil rights activists. The government tortured black men for science. The CIA experimented on Americans to create mind-controlled assassins. And a president orchestrated a cover-up from the Oval Office. It makes you wonder, what are they calling conspiracy theories today that will be proven true tomorrow? If these 5 taught us anything, it's this. Just because something sounds too crazy to be true doesn't mean it isn't. Sometimes the conspiracy theorists are right. Sometimes the truth is more disturbing than fiction. And sometimes, the only thing standing between truth and cover-up is someone brave enough to ask questions. If this opened your eyes, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment below and tell me, what conspiracy theory do you think will be proven true in the next 10 years? I'm Daily Junkie, and remember, stay curious, stay skeptical, and never stop questioning.